जय श्री राम, वेलकम एवरीबॉडी। विनय जी, आपके लिए बहुत बहुत स्वागतम भारत मार्ग के चैनल में। थैंक यू अगेन फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस फ्रेंड्स। आज हमारा बातचीत होगा विनय जी के साथ। वी विल कवर बोथ इन इंग्लिश एंड हिंदी फॉर द बेनिफिट। ये होगा मैं कनाडा को इमिग्रेट करना चाहता हूँ या चाहती हूँ भारत से, तो अब क्या करना चाहिए? व्हाट आई शुड डू, कैन आई डू इट? ओके, नाउ कीपिंग द थिंग्स इन माइंड दैट द टेंशन बिटवीन इंडिया एंड कनाडा, अभी जो भारत का और कनाडा के बीच में जो भी मामला चल रहा है, इसके बीच में क्या मेरा कनाडा आने का जो मेरा सपना है वो हो सकता है या नहीं? व्हाट विल हैपन टू माय कैनेडियन ड्रीम? ओके, इसके बारे में बातचीत होगा। Friends, we are going to cover every one of the visa. If you have any questions, do ask. Okay, and also, friends, please make sure to like the video, comment on the video, share the video with as many people as you can. और इसके अलावा अगर अभी तक आप चैनल सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया तो प्लीज सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा एंड बेल बटन दबा दीजिए, ताकि हम जब भी लाइव जाएंगे आपको सूचना मिले, ताकि आप आके पार्टिसिपेट कर सकें, कोई सवाल है तो पूछ सकें। और इसके अलावा हमारा हर दिन का एक धार्मिक मैसेज, वी सेंड आउट वन धार्मिक मैसेज एवरी डे। नाउ यू कैन गेट इट बाय सेंडिंग अ व्हाट्सएप टू +16479644790 and stay connected to the roots of Sanatan, and you and your family can enjoy and stay connected to the roots of Sanatan. विनय जी, थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग। स्वागतम आपके लिए। तो ये बोलिए कि बहुत लोग अभी चिंतित हैं। देयर आर लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर कांटेक्टिंग मी, दैट इज दे वांट टू कम एंड स्टडी इन कनाडा, दे वांट टू कम एज अ विजिटर, एज अ टूरिस्ट टू कनाडा, because many people come here as a tourist because it's very in the border of US. You can cover both US and Canada, and want to see Niagara from Canada side. So many things are happening, and also super visa. Many people, parents, grandparents want to move here. Okay, now the question is, keeping the tension. अभी जो टेंशन हो रहा है कनाडा और भारत के बीच में, इसका ये कैसा अफेक्ट करेगा भारतीयों को? और अगर मैं इधर आके पढ़ना चाहती हूं तो क्या करना चाहिए? Means, please, if you can take it over.
Yeah, sure. I can. I mean, I don't know. You got multifaceted questioning. This is what it's called. Kind of you attack in all different angles. So let me address it. Kind of let's dissect it and your question. I mean, and address it in one part by part. So number one, the Indian people, especially, I'm talking about the Indian population, Indians who are coming into Canada as students, as tourists, as visitors, as immigrants.
One second. Vinay ji, 1 second, okay? Yeah. I just want to say the people, we have a playlist called Canada News, okay? Where आपको सारे कनाडा के बारे में जो भी हमारा कवरेज है सब उधर मिलेगा आपको देखने के लिए। विनय जी का बहुत सारा वीडियो उधर है, मगर मैं आपको और एक भी सूचना देना चाहता हूं कि आज दूसरा प्लेलिस्ट क्रिएट किया जाएगा। वो होगा इमिग्रेशन, वीसा, इसके बारे में हमारा जो स्टूडेंट लाइफ, इसका बारे में जो माइग्रेंट्स के बारे में हुआ है वीडियो, दैट विल बी अवेलेबल ऑन कैनेडियन इमिग्रेशन प्लेलिस्ट, so that you can go and see it easily. Okay, please.
Okay, Vinay. So going back, basically, I'm just going to talk about the student population that comes into Canada for studying, right? Mm-hmm. From India, just so that the viewers know, the Canadian education market, okay, in terms of the colleges, universities, and all that, right? It's basically a $35 or $39 billion industry. Okay, so it's a huge industry, and it's a huge It contributes tremendously, and to the Canadian economy. Okay, so there are colleges, universities, uh, many private colleges that are 100% dependent on Indian students. 100%. Okay, so basically a foreign. I was talking to a Canadian, an Indian student who came to Canada to study business management or something at one of the private colleges. And this person, before he came, he was given this website and all that looks really colorful, that really looks nice and all that. But when he came to Canada, he noticed that this particular college was in a small plaza upstairs in 2 rooms. Okay, number one. Number two, the entire class of about 80 students, I believe, all of them Indians, all of them international students, not a single domestic student. Because you see, the domestic and international student fees, there's a difference of almost 3 to 4 times, sometimes 6 times, in some exceptional cases, right? So if a domestic student is paying $3,000, 3 times 4 is $12,000. So an international student pays $12,000 for that same course. Okay, so the college obviously makes more money out of international, because it's the same professor, it's the same classroom, it's the same books, it's the same curriculum and whatever.
मगर yeah, मगर
students end up spending a lot more.
Pardon? Yeah.
International students spend a lot more on the fees.
Absolutely. मगर ये छोटे-छोटे colleges इधर जो होते हैं, जो प्लाजा में, जैसा आप बोल रहे हैं, मैं भी बहुत सारा देखा हुआ हूं, वो कि इसमें पढ़ने के लिए भारत में इतना धक्का मुक्का क्यों हो रहा है?
The reason is, a lot of these people, students who come here, they have some kind of a connection. Either their neighbor went to Canada, or their father went to Canada, or their cousin went to Canada, or their uncle went to Canada, or their brother, siblings, or some guy or some person or some lady, some acquaintance. So the story that they've heard is, people come into Canada as students, and then once they finish the student, their education, then they basically get a job. Okay, so they find somebody, connections here and there, they find a job. And then in parallel, they've also applied for immigration to immigrate to Canada. So,
Yes.
So the whole idea is, intent is not to come and study here, not to become, educated or graduated in some foreign country or whatever. The whole idea is to come to Canada just to immigrate.
सही है, मगर मेरा सवाल आपसे सीधा ये है कि ये सब ठीक है, इसके ऊपर हम वीडियो कर चुके हैं, करेंगे भी, because we will be doing a lot more on it. मगर मैं ये जानना चाहता हूं कि अगर मैं भारत से अभी स्टूडेंट बन के इधर आना चाहता हूं कनाडा को, तो इसमें कितना मुश्किलें हैं, ये जानना चाहूंगा मैं.
See, in the past, there were many routes to come to Canada as a student. Okay, and one was the legal, proper way to come to Canada as a student. I'm only talking about student, because there are other ways, tourist and all that. We'll talk about that later.
We will cover it. Yeah, मेरा उसमें भी सवाल है कुछ.
Later we'll cover that, but let's focus on the student. Okay, so students, basically, they apply to a college or a university, and the university basically looks at their credentials. This is the legal way I'm talking about. They looked at their credentials, their grades, their IELTS score or TOEFL score, which is the English language testing. And some universities, if they're coming for higher education, they may ask for GMAT and so many things, right? So the thing is, end of the day, the college looks at it. They may even have an interview, like a phone interview or a web conference or whatever, right? And then they say, okay, you know what? We have accepted your credentials, whatever, everything looks good. So here's an acceptance letter. So typically colleges and universities in Canada, the academic year starts in September of any year. Okay, there are exceptions to the case. I'm not saying that's the rule, but that's a general rule, I would say. September is the start of this session for most courses. So the acceptance letter is typically sent in June, July, and they get the letter and they apply for their visa, because without the acceptance letter, they won't get a student visa. So they need the acceptance letter in June or July. They go to the Canadian consulate, they apply for the visa, and then boom, they get their visa.
Showing इसको दिखा के visa लेना पड़ता है.
Correct.
ये जो admission letter को
exactly.
दिखा.
And they apply for 2 weeks or whatever, and they also have to show how they're going to sustain for the next. Let's say the program is 2 years. Okay, so 2 years. How are you going to pay your fees? Show us your financial, your backing. Like, whether you have a bank account in India, then you got to show that you have so much money in the bank to cover your fees. Number one. And though they create, certain people create fake documents and all that, they ask their brother to transfer some money over, get the account information for that particular day. Account balance shows, oh yeah, it has so many lakhs of rupees, and then you take that account information and go to the immigration office. You also have to cover your living expenses and all that. So, and then where are you going to live here, and how are you going to cover all of that? So then they get the visa, they come to Canada, and then boom, they start their course. Okay. And that's one way of doing it. The other way is there are touts.
मगर अब हो सकता है क्या? यही सवाल है मेरा. अब टेंशन है, स्टाफ कम हो गया है. हाँ जी.
Okay, so to answer your question, in the past, there were 4 consulate offices in visa that could provide you visa to come to Canada. Okay, in India, I mean, one was in Mumbai, Bangalore, Chandigarh, and New Delhi. Okay, now what happened as a result of all this tension between India and Canada? India basically expelled 41 of Canada's diplomats, and as a result, they closed down pretty much 3 consulate offices. Okay, closed down meaning I'm not sure if they closed down the entire operation, but
for the public
operation. They're not offering any. They're not doing any visa services in those offices. So every student or everybody who wants to come to Canada, whether it's immigration, tourist, business visa, visitor visa, student visa, whatever visa, medical visa, anything, right? You have to come. You have to go to New Delhi. And in New Delhi, you got to wait and get your turn and blah, blah, blah.
Or they can courier service के द्वारा भी कर सकते हैं.
You can probably, yes, you can do that. But the biggest problem is the amount of backlog. Look, you can imagine, like 2/3 of their consulate officials have been expelled. So they're operating with a very small skeletal staff, which is 1/3 of the actual count, right? And now what has happened is the backlog, which normally, the student visa, for example, which used to take normally 2 weeks, now apparently it can take anywhere from 6 to 9 months.
मतलब इस semester को नहीं आ पाएंगे.
Impossible. But the thing is, acceptance letter comes in only for that academic year. Let's say you're applying for the 2024 academic year, 2024 starting September. Okay. Your acceptance letter comes only to you in June or July, end of June, beginning of July. Okay.
मतलब अगर वो दूसरा सेमेस्टर को दिया तो भी मैं 1 साल मुझे खराब भी तो होगा.
No, but you got to understand this. So you get the acceptance letter, and then basically you say that, you know what, you apply for the visa, but your visa comes in only 9 months later. But the thing is, visa looks at your acceptance letter. The course is starting in September, but they're September of 2024, but they'll begin to process your application in March of 2025. because they don't have the time to open it before that. And when they open it in March 2025, they say, oh, this is September 2024. Put this application separately. Will they respond to you and say, hey, your admission letter said September 2024, but we are looking at it now in March 2025. Sorry, we cannot do anything. Or can you ask your university to give you a new acceptance letter for September 2026?
मगर अगर वो नया एडमिशन लेटर देते हैं तो भी मेरा ये 1 साल खराब हो गया ना विनय जी.
Oh yeah, 100%. So let's say hypothetically the university gives you that letter or the college gives you that letter. Then if the visa gets processed, so you've lost 1 year of your precious time. Okay, number one. And number two, you might have done some homework with coming to living, here or whatever, and you got to restart your entire thing. So a lot of things are now in turmoil, pretty much, I should say. Okay. So as a result of all of this. And
Absolutely. तो अभी मुझे क्या करना चाहिए?
So the solution right now is look for other countries. I mean, like, you know what? Canada is not your only option. And especially, starting September, it's a pretty cold country. So you have other options like Australia. You got other options like in Europe. There are colleges that are actually offer, similar.
मगर महंगी होती है क्या? Is that expensive? महंगी होती है क्या उधर? Canada cheaper होता है क्या?
Canada is not cheap anyways, in any which way. Canada, like I told you, is not cheap in any which way. Australia is pretty competitive. You can go to, Singapore. You can go to, you got to explore. Like, think outside the box. It's not just Canada. Canada is like, it's like a lot of things.
मगर मैं एक चीज स्टूडेंट से हटके, let me ask you some other question on a visitor visa and or a PR processing. Okay, इसके बारे में मैं जानना चाहूंगा, क्योंकि इंडियन गवर्नमेंट तो बोलते ही है कि हमारा जो जंग है वो सिर्फ इस प्राइम मिनिस्टर और इनका पार्टी के साथ है. इसका मतलब ये है क्या ये गवर्नमेंट बदलने के बाद सारे रिश्ता अच्छा होगा या होने का मौका भी है क्या?
I honestly, the way things are going with this government, I don't think there's going to be any recourse or any correction or any fixing or whatever. So I don't see a remedy in the near future, especially with the current Canadian government. Okay. The only thing that can happen is if the new government comes in, then I'm pretty sure, especially, I'm hearing a lot about from Polivier's camp, and he's a conservative leader, opposition leader. And he is actually saying a lot of good things actually, about his interest in reestablishing, the kind of the relationship with Indian government, and kind of a restarting the whole everything, right? And so I think I'm kind of tending to believe in that, because right now I don't see any other alternative. So once that happens, and if Polivier comes and conservative leader keeps his promise, then hopefully things will start getting better.
Okay, विनय जी, इसका मतलब ये है क्या, if I want to apply PR, अगर मैं अप्लाई करना चाहता हूँ भारत से सीधा, कर सकता हूँ क्या? मतलब you can apply for a PR, right? ये 3 साल होता है, उसके अंदर तो गवर्नमेंट बदलेगा ही बदलेगा, right? अभी भी 2-3 साल तो होता ही है. So you think applying instead of student visa, can I take the route of PR? आप क्या सजेस्ट करेंगे?
Absolutely, but for a person who is coming in on student visa, he has just finished either grade 12 or maybe undergrad or something like that, right? So the thing with applying for a PR card, that's a permanent residency card, right? You have to secure a certain number of points. So Canada, has something called as a point system. All right. So with the point system, you basically you get points based on your education. You get points based on your English language skills. You get points based on your your education should have been in English. If not, then you may have to take certain tests like IELTS or TOEFL or something, and then you also have to it's based on work experience, and then your skill level and so many things, right? So you get 10 points here, 15 points there, 25 points there. So basically it had to add up to a certain number of points, which is, I believe, used to be 70 points, and that's what I still think it is. So once you get those number of points, then yes. But the thing is, again, you got to keep in mind, 3 consulate offices have closed down in India.
फिर भी 3 साल तो होता ही है ना, मतलब
Yeah, I mean, like PR used to take normally about 6 to 8 months or a year or something like that in the past. Okay,
एक्सप्रेस वीसा तो
take about 3
या
years. Yeah, 3 to 4 years. Who knows?
ओके। एंड ये सुपर वीसा या विजिटर वीसा के ऊपर कैसा असर पड़ेगा?
Same issue with the super visa. The super visa is mainly for parents and grandparents who want to come in, and it's a visa that's actually, I think, good for a number of years, 5 years or 10 years or something like that. I don't remember exactly. And so basically, what it is, when people come on super visa, they they bypass all this. It's mainly for kids who live here who want to bring their parents. Before,
The
they
parents.
used to get parents to immigrate to Canada, but now Canada is discouraging that, especially for parents who are much older. Now they have to depend on the healthcare system in Canada, which is free, and they've got to depend on the social services sometimes and all that stuff, right? So to avoid all that, they basically give them what is called as a super visa. It's all names, like it's like, don't get carried away with the super visa. Super visa doesn't give you any more privileges than an ordinary visa. Okay. The thing is, when they give you super visa, you think, oh my god, my parents have got super visa, but it doesn't mean anything, because it's a regular visa. And
Your parents are super and they got a visa.
exactly. So they don't have the privilege of going and seeing any doctor for free, or using the medical system here for free. Number one. Number two, they cannot depend on social services to get their monthly dole money or whatever. They can't do that, and so many things that the Canadian citizens or the Canadian PRs have. The super visa guys don't have that. They are still considered foreigners.
Wow. Vinay ji, I'm almost done with my question. If you want to consolidate all the things on the things, taking a minute, अगर आप कुछ बताना चाहते हैं, final word.
Yeah, the one thing that I want to say is, as a result of what has happened with the relationship, Canada has been hit badly. Okay. Economically, this is a huge impact. Like, you got to keep in mind that, I was reading an article, and it basically, the headline is, Canada may have just killed one of its last golden geese. Okay. So the golden geese was the students coming in from India. Okay, they were coming in like truckloads, I should say, not literally, but I'm just saying, so many students used to come in, and the entire, like I said earlier, a lot of universities, a lot of colleges were 100% dependent on Indian students coming in. So now what has happened? The loss of applications is so substantial, it may spell the end of Canada's student permit boom. Okay. And also, just keep in mind that this decline had already started even before the tension started. Okay. Don't get carried away that, oh my god, this is because of the tension or whatever. This already had started to happen, and now, as a result of this tension, it's actually going to get even worse. Okay. It was starting at fell at 5%, then at 9%, then at 12%. So it's only going down. All right. So apparently in 2021, Indians represented 43% of the students' study permit applications. Okay. And then it jumped to 49% in 2022. And then now it has started it's on a decline. So this is what I'm saying. And so my advice to students is, look outside of Canada. I mean, there are lots of other opportunities. If you are willing to waste a year, couple of years, then, and if you're seriously enamored by Canada and whatever, I won't stop you. But if you're still seriously looking to actually study, get some foreign education, maybe stay back in that country, maybe go back to India, and India is booming right now, and you can do a lot more in India than actually in these countries, in developed countries like Canada or Australia or whatever. So that's my other sincere suggestion. And also, to one last point that I want to bring up is, you actually mentioned earlier that a lot of these people who come to Canada, whether as immigrants or visitors or whatever, right, they are within a short time they're heading back to India, okay, their home country. And why is it happening? We don't know. The other thing that I also heard from the
we will cover that in a separate video on what is happening when the immigrants come here. We will cover
exactly.
that. But
I just want to say one point. When the United States consulate actually or the foreign office basically issued a statement saying that the illegal immigration problem is not just from Mexico, it's also from the north of our country, which is Canada. Because many of these people move into Canada, move into the US.
Either say roadways, there are now no secured border many times. Yeah,
exactly.
And but thank you. And if you have any more questions, friends, please let us know. We will love to answer it for you. Okay, hope this is useful. ओके मगर अगर PR ट्राई करना है तो आप कर पाएंगे, मगर आपके लिए पेशेंस का जरूरत ही बहुत है, क्योंकि आज मैं जो सुना हूं, ओके विनय जी, इंडियन गवर्नमेंट ने परमिशन दिया कनाडा को कि 20 डिप्लोमेट्स रखने के लिए, उसमें उन्होंने बड़े तुम्हारा जो मर्जी उनको वापस ले लो, 41 पीपल। तो कनाडा ने जिसको उधर छोड़ा है उसमें सिर्फ 5 लोग हैं वीसा प्रोसेस करने वाले लोग, बाकी 15 लोग जो हैं वो पॉलिटिकल लोग हैं डिप्लोमेट में। ओके ऐसा मतलब दे हार्डली हैव हैंडफुल ऑफ पीपल, 5 लोग हैं जो वीसा प्रोसेस करते हैं। ये अपना इंटरनल इंफॉर्मेशन है। Okay, but hope this is useful. Thank you very much, Vinay Ji, for coming here and sharing your wisdom. Appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing you again in a new video. Friends, please make sure to see our session, which is Canada News, and also we will be starting a new playlist called Canadian Immigration. You can go and check up and stay connected there. Thank you, Vinay Ji. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Thank you.